Before getting into research, I never thought of how much communication I'd end up doing. Honestly, I don't really have a master plan for it. I mostly just say yes whenever an opportunity comes up. So when my institute offered us a science communication workshop, I obviously signed up. Today I'm participating in a communication workshop, how to talk about your research in a very basic way. And even though it is not my direct work, I find it extremely important to know how to do it. And even with those vlogs, I have to know how to communicate information in a very concise way. So that would work for both my scientific research subject and also pretty generally with communicating information. I realized that my canteen is actually a chain of containers. So I can basically eat in the canteen, being wherever in the city I am. It's very practical. Another day, another canteen. The workshop went actually very well. It was a concise way to get us into the idea how important the communication is, how to make it as efficient as possible, regardless of our workload. It's not our primary job, so we need to know how to make it well and efficient in order to sell our work, get noticed, even collaborate more efficiently. For me personally, a few tips stand out that I really wanted to share with you. Having them in mind all the time helps a lot. First tip would be know your audience even before you start to make a presentation. It will simplify your preparation, but also the delivery itself, because when you're standing on stage, you will not have to think through the concepts that you need to explain that are kind of evident for you, but not for those who listen to you. I think my personal story honestly says that you need to practice as much as possible. Take any research institution opportunity that is given to you. Just every time they organize workshops, events, different outreach days, always say yes. You don't need to create the opportunity to communicate on your own because again, you're overwhelmed with your job and your research already. But just when people come to you, yes, it will be an additional job for you, but at the same time, half of the work is already done by the organizers. You just need to come and deliver. And the more you do it, the easier it comes. I presented a lot for speech therapists during my study just because we had to recruit participants via them, collaborated a lot with clinicians, and therefore I had to use their terminology and their level of knowledge in order to explain the complex neuroscience. I used plenty of visuals and videos, metaphors on how the brain works, but at the same time, on the clinical point of view, I delivered a lot more practical details on how they can be integrated in their study with less effort possible. That brings me to the second tip they gave us. Do not try to explain everything. Sometimes it is better to choose just one thing that you want people to live with. Adapting my study for parents would be to say, give them more practical details on how they need to deliver practice every day. What would be the practical demand on their side so that they can integrate that easily in the lifestyle of their kids and their lifestyle. Third point is actually not a banality. It is important to understand that communication is not a simple simplification, not just dumbing down your project. It is more of adapting your project to the audience who may not have the same background as you and knowing how to turn your project in the right way so that with their background they will be able to understand it. Point 4 that the workshop suggested is to make your presentation very much interactive. Sometimes it can be hard to integrate, but you need to come up with your own way. For example, when I did experimental research on visual reading of words, I actually proposed a demonstration. So I showed the trials to my audience so that they can actually imagine what they were doing. Again, giving metaphors is a great way to deliver your research. Always remember that one figure is sometimes worth pages of explanation. So make sure to use different diagrams, figures, visual explanations. That all will help you a lot. Point 5 is a bit more of a personal development. Don't think of public speaking as of something that you're just not made for. Think of it as of a skill. You can totally develop it by practicing whenever an opportunity occurs. Do not actually have to become like a science communicator, put your, videos explaining your research online. You don't need to necessarily. You can think of it as of a communication opportunity. Given the information back to the community so that it flourishes in the end. It is kind of a responsibility too. I always try to be very accurate and explain well my research to my non-scientific friends or families that come and participate in our research, different outreach events, and obviously presenting your project for like 10, 20, 100 times, even to your friends or parents, would help you enormously with understanding how to position it better around different audiences. Well, it was totally useful to me. I hope it was useful to you. I actually got some presents from the workshop that I'm ready to share with you.
My personal favorite tip is to learn by doing, by practice and setting up the tiny experiments that would eventually bring you to learning the skill. Accept a talk here and there, and in a couple of years of your PhD, you will not recognize your speaking skills.
We did plenty of interesting exercises, both a workshop where we were supposed to pitch our research at different levels of audience, for example, to kids of 6 years old, or to children of 13, or maybe to just general public that's very diverse. And I decided to select one of my theoretical projects that I never actually get to explain much. I'm also going to a conference later this year in October. I was accepted for poster for this project, and I was trying to conceptualize what I'm going to talk about, just because it's extremely difficult to explain all of those theoretical bases of the mechanisms of the brain. I've chosen to present my idea to 13 years old, to the middle school students, and honestly it was a bit complicated. We spent like 1.5 hours on trying to create the pitch, but in the end it was good. We also were introduced into plenty of structures that exist in our region, big agencies of research. They're mostly based on the topic first, and then in the agencies there are like subgroups of working in different regions.
I have a true obsession with pancakes now. Really, just how fluffy they are, very thick. Those are with sour cream.
They also gave us plenty of gifts. I'm gonna do an unpacking tote bag. Can start with the game that they created themselves, understanding research more. As far as I can read on the back, you're like a researcher and you're supposed to search for participants to your study, and I'm not playing this game. This is literally my work day to day. I also got 3 different comic books, and those are related to the festival that they do in the Parisian region, and you can see that it looks pretty exciting too. My honest opinion, I'm not sure I'm gonna read those, just because I have a hard time dealing with polarization of science. This is why also this channel is not necessarily a research related subject. I like the tools, I like the idea of career in research, but I'm not sure the actual subjects is something I really care of. That would be a very weird thing to say. Also soon defending my doctorate degree, but honestly I have a feeling that I would enjoy researching any subject, not necessarily mine. And it just happened that I work in cognitive neuroscience of language, but I could have also been working in physics or in chemistry or in biology. I could really simply imagine me doing this day to day. I just like the career of a researcher, and I think I would have done it in any other spheres as well. I think here comes this whole hardship of understanding the vulgarization of research, and you either have to simplify a lot like skipping years of education in order to let someone really understand what you're doing. Or if you're asked to present your project in 1 minute, you really need to skip everything, and basically you will be able to present your field and the thematics and the question, maybe the problem, but not the specific finding that you do. Because I mean, this is a frontier of the knowledge. It is okay that it's impossible to explain in 1 minute. I feel like all of the popularization that is done, it's oversimplified. If it's not simplified, it's simply not interesting to listen to it. So this is a dilemma. I'm trying to find a better way to do it, even for my research. It doesn't mean that you don't have to popularize. I think you do 100%. And by doing it more and more, you will find out what to do better and how to conceive your ideas better in a more efficient manner. But this is not straightforward. Okay, let's get back to unpacking. I've got a pen, a notebook, and another book on fake news. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye!